The afternoon sun slanted in bright gold through the wide studio window, glinting off jars of paint water and the stretched canvas before me. The scent of linseed oil mingled with faint sea breeze from the cracked window. Peace. Until a voice sharp as perfume cut through it. "Painting won't pay the bills," Gloria sneered from the doorway, her tone carrying the kind of disdain that could sour milk. She leaned against the frame, tapping her polished nails like tiny hammers of judgment. "When are you going to grow up, Elena? Get a real job, something my James deserves." Her words slid across the room like cold wind. I didn't look up. My brush moved carefully, shading the mountain ridge that glowed under my precise strokes. 5 years of marriage had trained me in the subtle art of tuning her out, a discipline as steady as my brush hand. My name is Elena Martinez, and at 32, I had spent the last decade building a life Gloria Richardson would never comprehend. To her, I was a childish disappointment, a woman foolish enough to trade suits and salaries for color and canvas. To me, though, I was free. Gloria took a decisive step into the studio, uninvited as always. The sharp click of her designer heels cut against the quiet, each step saying I own this space. "You know," she began, pretending to be kind, "there's an opening at James's firm, a respectable position, an office, benefits. You could finally do something useful." Setting my brush down, I exhaled slowly, letting patience settle over irritation like varnish over paint. "I appreciate your concern, Gloria," I said softly, "but I'm happy right where I am." "Happy," she repeated, her lips bending like she'd tasted something bitter. Picking up one of my smaller canvases, she turned it in her manicured hand like a coupon she might discard. "Happy doesn't pay for the lifestyle my son deserves. She swept her hand toward the room. "This is a hobby. A real woman contributes, Elena. She doesn't hide in a garage with toys and turpentine. If only she knew." For years I had been selling under a pseudonym, M. Rivers, slowly building a quiet reputation in galleries across the country. My collectors waited months for a single piece, but James had always insisted, "It's easier if Mom doesn't know. She wouldn't understand." Gloria's gaze scraped across my sanctuary, this transformed garage glowing with late light. To her it wasn't sacred. It was messy, disposable, embarrassing. "At least paint something people actually like," she quipped. "Something pretty, flowers, something that sells." I almost laughed. The moody landscape she dismissed so easily already had a waiting list. Still, I remained silent, because the victory of being calm when someone hopes to rattle you is one of life's finer arts. She carried on, syrup thick in her voice. "Passion's nice, dear, but passion doesn't put food on the table. James works so hard, what do you do? Sit here daydreaming like a little girl?" My phone buzzed on the work table. A message blinked. "Major collector interested in your mountain series. 7-figure offer. Call ASAP." I slid the phone into my pocket, the faintest smile tugging my lips. Gloria, oblivious, was adjusting her blouse in triumph. "James and I have been talking," she announced grandly. "This needs to stop. It's time you joined the real world." "My situation?" I said quietly, feeling the chill rise in my chest. "He agrees with me," she declared, satisfaction flooding her face. "Your little hobby holds you both back. He could be partner by now, if he didn't have to explain his wife's artistic phase." For the first time, I set my full focus on her. The brush trembled in its jar of water. "My art is my career, Gloria." She gave a short, mocking laugh. "Oh, please. When was the last time you sold anything? And don't say those pity commissions for your friends." I thought briefly about telling her of the collectors in New York, the private buyer in Paris who'd just wired payment for a new series. But then I remembered James's weary sighs. "Let it go, Lena. It's not worth a fight." I smiled thinly instead. "I do all right." Her eyes hardened. "Not for much longer." She straightened. "James has agreed. This space will become his home office. You'll need to clear it by the weekend." My chest went still. "This is my studio," she smiled. "Was your studio?" "The desk arrives Monday. 5 years of biting my tongue. 5 years of smoothing over her barbed remarks for the sake of peace. It all cracked like paint left to dry too long." "No," I said quietly. Her head snapped up. "Excuse me?" I said no. I met her gaze, unflinching. "This is my space, my work, my career. You have no right to take it, her face twisted in outrage. After everything I've done for you, you're exactly why James could have done better. She lunged, grabbing one of my finished canvases, the very one the collector wanted, and before I could move, she hurled it to the floor. The wood frame splintered, the fabric split like a wound. Gloria, but she wasn't finished. Breathing hard, she reached for another, her fury flaring bright. If you won't listen to reason, she hissed, then maybe you need tough love. I froze, the air thick with the tearing sound of fabric, the destruction of months of quiet labor. What she couldn't realize, was that she was slashing through works worth thousands, some tens of thousands. And all of it was being recorded by the silent camera above the easel, installed for protection against theft and damage. When her rampage slowed, I lifted my phone and quietly hit record, capturing every last bit of her tantrum. Sometimes revenge isn't about noise, it's about truth unfolding itself. Finally panting, Gloria stopped. Around her lay the ruins of my series, torn, twisted, ruined beauty. She adjusted her blouse again with a quivering hand. There, she said, breathless but self-satisfied. Now you can focus on being the kind of wife my son deserves. I met her gaze, calm as wet paint drying. Then I pressed send. Thank you, Gloria, I said softly. Her eyes narrowed. For what? I smiled. For showing me exactly who you are. Now, would you like to know who I am? Her smug expression faltered. At that moment, my phone buzzed again. The line went on speaker. M. Rivers? Marcus from Houston Gallery here. The collector's ready to wire the 7-figure payment for your mountain series. When can we arrange pickup? Gloria's face drained of color. I spoke clearly, eyes never leaving hers. We have a problem, Marcus. Several pieces were just destroyed. Intentionally. I have video proof. A stunned silence followed. Then Marcus's tone turned sharp. Destroyed? Elena, those works are insured for millions. Who was responsible? I turned the camera toward the pale woman now sinking into my paint-splattered chair. I believe we both know. Her mascaraed eyes blinked in disbelief. You're M. Rivers? I nodded, still speaking into the phone. Yes, Marcus. Send the insurance adjusters. I'll forward the footage. When the call ended, I faced her fully. Yes, Gloria. I'm M. Rivers, the artist whose painting sold for $300,000 last month. The one whose little hobby funds that shiny car you brag about James driving? She stuttered. But that's impossible. MC Rivers is supposed to be successful? Professional? Real? I pointed toward the shredded canvases. You just destroyed about $2 million worth of art. Art that was sold. Art that was insured. Her lips trembled. James never told me, because he knew you'd never respect it, I said quietly. He thought lying was easier than defying you. And I agreed. Look how well that turned out. My phone buzzed again. Messages from the insurance team confirming receipt. I forwarded the video while she watched, white-faced, speechless. Elena, she whispered, shaking. I didn't know. No, I said, my voice steady and low. You never cared to know. You were too busy trying to fit me into your small world. She reached out helplessly. We can fix this. James and I, we'll make it right. How? I asked. Those canvases were worth more than your house. She smoothed her ruined blouse, her hands trembling. You can't tell James. It would break his heart. I exhaled a sharp laugh. Break his heart? Like how you both planned to take away my studio. Like the years you spent belittling my work while living off its success? The security chime sounded. The adjusters entered with Marcus, surveying the wreckage in sober silence. This was deliberate, one said gravely. The insurer will demand full restitution. Gloria's posture collapsed. Elena, please. I'm James's mother. You can't do this to me. I met her pleading eyes, my voice calm, absolute. I'm not doing anything to you, Gloria. You did this to yourself. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, staring at the destruction. The collector will be devastated, he murmured. These were meant for the museum installation. Gloria blinked, stunned. Museum installation? I nodded, eyes steady. Yes, Gloria. That dreary mountain series you mocked was commissioned for the Modern Art Museum's new National Light exhibit. They've been promoting it for months. The weight of her actions finally struck her, her perfect posture deflated, her mouth opening wordlessly as her world, every assumption, every smug, delicate balance crumbled around her, carefully constructed. Poise shattered, Makara shrieked, tears trailing down her cheeks. What can I do? There must be something. I exhaled, steady. Start by leaving my studio. The insurance company will handle the rest. And Gloria. I held her gaze. Don't ever tell me what a real woman does. Again she fled. Marcus lingered. Alina. I'm so sorry. The collector will want answers. I surveyed the wreckage, my mind already working. Tell them I'll create something new, better sometimes. Destruction leads to inspiration. After they left, I sat alone, surrounded by their remains of years of work. My phone lit up. A message from James. Mom called crying. What happened? I inhaled deeply and typed, "Come home. We need to talk about why you told your mother she could turn my studio into your office and why you spent years hiding." My success, his response came fast. I was trying to protect you from her. No, you were protecting her from reality, and in doing so, you let this happen. I looked at the devastation around me and, strangely, I felt free, no more hiding, no more minimizing my success for someone else's comfort. As I started cleaning, I noticed something that made me smile. The large canvas I've been working on, the one Gloria sneered at, had survived, untouched. Sometimes the universe has a sense of irony. A final message lit up my screen. This one from the museum curator heard. What happened? Don't worry about these, Rees. We want a new commission. Transformation and resilience, your price, your timeline. I stared at the words, then at my studio, and felt a familiar spark of inspiration. Gloria thought she destroyed my art, but all she done was give me something more powerful to say. As the sun set through the shattered space, I heard James of car pee into the driveway. Another hard conversation was coming, but I was ready. No more hiding. No more compromising. No more letting anyone else define my worth. That evening, standing in the ruins of my studio, I watched James take in the wreckage as expression shifted from shock to anger, then finally, shame. He ran a hand through his hair, his fingers tightening around the shredded canvas. I never thought she'd actually do this, he murmured when she mentioned converting the studio. I don't know what I thought you thought it was. Easier to plate her than to stand up to her, I said, my voice steady, just like it was easier to downplay my career than force her to see me for who I really am. James exhaled sharply. I'll make this right. I'll make sure she pays for everything. The damages. The commissions. She can't afford it. I interrupted. And even if she could, that's not the point. His eyes met mine. Then what is this? Isn't about money, James. It's about the fact that you spent years protecting her feelings at the expense of my dignity. I gestured to the destroyed canvases around us. How long were you going to let her believe I was just playing around? How long were you going to let her belittle me? The silence that followed stretched between us, heavy with everything we'd never said. I thought I was keeping the peace, he admitted. Finally, I never meant for this to happen. I know I said, but it did. And now we have to decide where we go. From here. In the weeks that followed, things changed fast. The insurance claim was settled quickly, thanks to the security footage. Gloria faced not only financial consequences, but public fallout as well. Word spread fast in the art world. Meanwhile, my identity as a Rivers became public knowledge, triggering a wave of interviews, features, and new opportunities. The museum that had commissioned the Mountain series pivoted, commissioning a new collection, this time on destruction and resilience. They even planned to display footage of Glor Rampage alongside my new work, turning an act of destruction into a statement on transformation. James moved out for a while, saying he needed time to rethink everything I let him. I had work to do. The new pieces that emerged from the wreckage were different. Raw, powerful, they told a story of breaking free, of rising from ruins. 3 months later, as I put The finishing touches on my newly renovated studio Gloria showed up. Unannounced. She looked smaller somehow, like the weight of her own actions had finally settled on her shoulders. The insurance company is gearing my wages, she said without preamble. It'll take me years to pay back the damages I didn't look up from my work. That sounds about right. I've been in therapy. She continued, trying to understand why I needed to control everything. Why I did what I did. She swallowed hard. I'm sorry. Elena, not just for this, but for all of it. I set my brush down and finally met her gaze. I appreciate that, but words aren't enough, right? She nodded, her eyes wet. I saw your new work, the magazine feature. It's incredible. I never let myself see it before, but now I get it. I get why people love it so much. I glance at the painting in front of me. A phoenix rising from a canvas that had been torn and reassembled. Sometimes we have to lose everything to finally see what was there all along. She left quietly, and I returned to my work that night. James called, "Can I come to the opening?" Hesked. Not as your protector, just as someone who believes in you. The next evening, the exhibition debuted to record-breaking success. The gallery buzzed with energy collectors drawn to the raw, defiant beauty of the new series. The story of destruction and rebirth resonated with them, but more importantly, it resonated with me. Gloria had tried to define what a real woman should be, but trying to tear me down. She had only given me my greatest inspiration as I stood in my studio later that night, watching a last rays of sunlight streak across my work. I felt something unexpected. Not anger, not resentment, just gratitude for my strength, for my voice, and even in some strange way for Gloria, who had tried to erase me but instead helped me paint the clearest picture of who I truly was.